Today we're talking about a 10-year-old bourbon that might just surprise the heck out of you. We're going to tackle that today here on the My Bourbon Journey Whiskey Review channel. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Thank you as always for joining me today. So we are tackling from Pendleton their 1910 10-year-old straight bourbon whiskey. This is coming in at 90 proof and it's blends of both a high and low rye bourbon. As I had mentioned before, it is age stated as 10 years, so we know the minimum age within this blend is going to be 10 years old, and the MSRP on this is right around that $45 to $50 price point. So let's go ahead and kind of break this thing down. Again, at 90 proof, $45, age stated as 10 years old. This really kind of surprised me in a very, very good way, and I think this is going to have a category that's going to really appease a few kind of different groups of people. So I guess first let's kind of tackle the person that's beginning or kind of just getting into the bourbon world. I think for what this will have to offer is going to really kind of hit home. I think this will be a really nice kind of gateway into other things, not to kind of downplay this, but I think for what it has to offer for that category, and then for the person that's maybe a little bit more advanced, kind of dabbles into some of the higher proof bourbons or whiskeys, this will kind of serve as that in-between type of bourbon. If you're not wanting or needing all of the big proof, but you're still looking for a whiskey that has a really fantastic kind of flavor profile, I think this will do that. So let's go ahead and kind of talk a little bit about, again, from Pendleton, their 1910 straight bourbon whiskey. This for me was kind of an exciting little bourbon. And again, I know we don't tackle a lot of 90 proof bourbons here on the channel, but I felt after tasting this that, again, this was going to work for a couple different groups. So I wanted to kind of tackle this and dive into this a little bit more, give you some of the kind of the flavor profiles of this a little bit, just to give you a better idea of maybe what it is that you can expect from this. Now, again, before we kind of tackle all of that, let's talk or reflect a little bit about the 1910 portion and exactly what that represents. So the Pendleton 1910 bourbon honors the inaugural year of the legendary Pendleton Roundup, a century-old rodeo that celebrates the rugged spirit of the American West. This premium 90 proof straight American bourbon is crafted to reflect the hard work and character and define the Western style. So that gives you a little idea of what that 1910 kind of represents. So I think when you can attach that to something that is authentic, that in itself is kind of refreshing, within kind of the bourbon industry for the most part. So without further ado, let's go ahead and kind of tackle this, get into this a little bit, and let you know exactly what this 90 proof bourbon has to offer. And this was water that was used from a spring that was coming from Mount Hood in Oregon. So again, a little bit different than what we're maybe used to, but again, something a little bit more authentic. Again, 90 proof whiskey, moving the thing around a little bit. And I mean, not the greatest of oils or anything, and you wouldn't really expect that. So let's kind of tackle the nose and see exactly what this has to offer. So you want to go out for the evening, maybe have a few cocktails, and feel and be productive the following day. Well, listen up. I think ZBiotics has the perfect product for you. Not only do I use it, but it's why I love it. It's simple. For me, it works, and I believe it will for you as well. So how do you use it? It's simple. So open up the box that they give you. Comes with a 1 ounce sample. Give that a quick shake down the hatch and let ZBiotics take over from there. Now, as I had mentioned before, I use it prior to going out for the evening or before doing barrel picks. For me, it's simple. I know it's what's going to allow for me to feel my best the following day. So how does it work? ZBiotics pre-alcohol probiotic drink is the world's first genetically engineered product. It was invented by PhD scientists to help tackle rough mornings after drinking. Here's how it works. When you drink, alcohol gets converted into a toxic byproduct in the gut. It's this byproduct, not dehydration, that's to blame for the rough next day. ZBiotics pre-alcohol produces an enzyme to break this byproduct down. Just remember to make ZBiotics your first drink of the evening, drink responsibly, stay properly hydrated to feel your best the following day. Now, how do you get it? Go to zbiotics.com or check out the link in the description below. That down there will save you 15% off your first order. Plus, ZBiotics offers a 100% money-back guarantee, so if you're unsatisfied for any reason, they'll refund your money, no questions asked. I have to say a big thank you to ZBiotics for sponsoring today's video. Boy, so right away you get this really nice kind of semi-spicy caramel apple. Yeah, again, nice little amount of baking spice on this. It's way more spicy than an awful lot of the other 90 proof bourbons that I've smelled. And I think, again, that 10-year age is really allowing for this to have a more ramped up, more richer, more complex for a 90 proof bourbon. So this is where I think this is going to be a slight advantage over a lot of other 90 proof bourbons that are far younger. You're going to have more of that age, more of that whiskey that was in the barrel for that amount of time. Even after it being cut, you're not going to lose all the characteristic of it. So this is when you start getting some of these older whiskeys that are still cut. It offers up a really nice kind of alternative. Again, I had mentioned before, for those that are kind of entry level into bourbon, this gives you a better idea of maybe what you can expect in the future, all while giving you a really nice 10-year, 90 proof sippable bourbon. Yeah, overall, it just makes this way more inviting than the vast majority of other 90 proof whiskeys. This has much more richness and some more complexity that you're just not going to get from that. And again, this is attributed to, again, that 10-year age statement that it has. Almost with the spice on it and the kind of toastiness, it gives you this slight, almost French oak kind of style to it, while you get some of those sweeter notes, while also having a little bit of this kind of sweet, tart, spicy feel to it. So right away, a very, very nice and inviting nose so far. But more importantly, let's tackle the palate and see exactly what this one's going to have to offer. Cheers. So immediately, I love the oak component to this. And just kind of starting out there, I think this is where that age is going to shine within this 90 proof bourbon. So I think once you kind of get a little bit away from the oak, again, more of that kind of caramel, apple, vanilla, baking spice combo starts to kick in. You know, you get a little bit more of that sweetness, like a honey or a sweet tea. All that's working really well with the barrel influence and a little bit of that oak and the spice factor in this. So it's really nice so far, you know, on the palate. I think it has a lot to offer. So again, like I mentioned before, so for those evenings that you maybe don't want a lot of big heavy proof, but you want something that still has a really nice kind of flavor profile, this is something that offers that. And again, this is where the age, even cut to 90 proof, allows you to have all of those nice characteristics of a bourbon that you may enjoy at barrel proof in something that's 90 proof. And again, the opposite of that is if you're kind of, you know, in the entry level part of things, this kind of sets the tone. This gives you a really good idea or a good representation of what a really nice 90 proof bourbon can be, and then leading you into what maybe some of those barrel proof versions can be. So far, I think what this Pendleton 1910 straight bourbon whiskey has to offer is really fantastic for what it is. Yeah, those really nice kind of subtle vanilla, caramel, all mixed a little bit with that kind of like green apple, kind of making it that you know, caramel apple type of feel. Really nice so far. I mean, this is what makes the bourbon industry a little bit more interesting, when you can have these 90 proof bourbons like this that still retain or maintain some nice flavors without it all just being washed away. This is a really nice or true representation of what that can be. So I give Pendleton a lot of credit for, releasing this, cutting it to the 90 proof, not just necessarily releasing this as a barrel proof, even though it would be very interesting to taste this at barrel proof. At 90 proof, this gets a few more bottles out to more people, offers up, again, that category for someone who is kind of entering into the bourbon world, or the other people who are still a little bit more of like a veteran within the bourbon industry or bourbon world that is used to something that's higher proof, but still wants those bourbon flavor profiles that kind of offer up, what it is exactly that you're looking for. So overall, or at the end of the day, I think what it is that Pendleton has done with this, age stating it as 10 years old, keeping it at 90 proof, like I mentioned several times before, this works for a couple, different groups of people. I think they did a really fantastic job, or as good of a job as you can do with a 90 proof bourbon. So, I give them, again, a lot of credit. And really what they've done with this is pretty fantastic. So this would be, for me, if I kind of break this down, individually, for those evenings that I don't necessarily need or want a bunch of, big proof, this is the style or kind of bourbon that will give me enough of a flavor profile, enough richness that will appease that kind of bourbon need that I have. So this, again, makes it a really, really nice bourbon overall. It hits, again, a lot of different sections, and one that I feel an awful lot of people will truly, truly enjoy. So if you can find the Pendleton 1910 straight bourbon whiskey, do yourself a favor. For 45 bucks, I think this is a great alternative to a lot of what is out there on the market nowadays. So I would totally sign off on this bourbon specifically, and makes it a very, very enjoyable bourbon for an awful lot of people. So with that being said, thank you guys so much for tuning in today. Greatly, greatly appreciate it. If you'd like to follow me, you can on Facebook and Instagram, those places at My Bourbon Journey. If you'd like to help support the channel and become part of the Mash and Journey Whiskey Club, make sure you check out that Patreon link in the description below. That down there with a lot of other great things for you as well. So with that, and as always, remember, it's about the journey and not the destination. Cheers. We'll see you in the next video.